Hello, and welcome back to episode 4 of my sustainability podcast. Over the course of this podcast, we have talked about sustainability in the area of transportation. Specifically, we have focused on the problem with trying to become sustainable in the automotive industry. Through the interviews in my last episode, we talked about the problems with the electric vehicle. And although they do produce no emissions from running and driving, there are many challenges that come with calling them a sustainable use of transportation. Anyways, that was the last episode. Today, we will be talking about my personal sustainability and what I can do to improve that. As I mentioned in a previous episode, I drive a lot, approximately 100 to 125 miles every week, and that is a large contributor to my overall ecological footprint. The first strategy I could adopt to better my footprint is to travel less on my own and use other resources to travel. The first thing I would do is carpool to and from work. I have a fellow coworker who lives relatively close to where I live. Instead of each of us having to drive 30 minutes or so to and from work every day, we could combine our use to have just one vehicle making that drive. That would cut out a large portion of my driving, and therefore cut out a large portion of my footprint. I'm not going to be able to carpool forever, so another strategy I could adopt is to ride a bike or another form of transportation on short trips. I live within a couple miles of many different grocery stores, so that would be a good way to cut down on my burning of gasoline. Every week, when I need to go to the store, I could ride a bike or skateboard there instead of driving. That would obviously cut out that drive, but also be good for me because I get a chance to exercise. My schedule is so busy that oftentimes I am not able to make it to the gym. If I went on a 5-mile bike ride to the store and back, that would allow me to receive some much needed exercise and help me be more sustainable in my community. That is a strategy that I could implement into my everyday life. But another thing I could change is the vehicles that I work on at home. I have mentioned many times before that I like to work on cars at home. I have multiple Ford Mustangs from the 1960s that have absolutely no emissions equipment whatsoever. Whenever I start one of those vehicles, it makes a huge cloud of black smoke and smells like unburned gasoline. The hydrocarbons, which are unburned gasoline, and the carbon monoxide, which is partially burned gasoline, that comes out of the tailpipe of these vehicles are terrible for the environment. That is why we have emissions tests for modern vehicles. But a possible way of cleaning up the exhaust fumes of my vehicles would be to install emissions devices in the exhaust. Mufflers and catalytic converters, for example, could be installed to capture the harmful emissions that are escaping the engine. The biggest problem people have with adding those emissions devices is that they rob some of the sound of the exhaust. That is not true, because there are options for free-flowing catalytic converters and mufflers that have almost no change on the sound of the vehicle, but still do their jobs at cleaning up the exhaust. But these are not only changes that are specific to me. There are car shows full of people that could implement a simple strategy like that to significantly reduce the number of harmful emissions that their cars produce. These changes do not only affect me, they affect the entire community. We need to try our hardest to preserve our society for those that come after us. And small changes like these can make a big difference. These changes would not affect my day-to-day life because I'm still going to work and doing things that I need to do. But if everyone implemented a change like this, then the whole world would be more sustainable. Thank you very much for listening, and I can't wait for you to hear the next one.